Welcome to The Business. What is the starting point for anyone reading this report? How and why has Australia lost its way when it comes to R&D and innovation?
Well, thank you, Kirsten, for having me today. From my perspective, everybody should read the report and understand it. It is for all Australians. The basic thesis of the report is that we need to be more ambitious as a country around using our brain power and our intellectual capability to drive industrial growth in the country.
This is a report the government commissioned, but is it likely to embrace all of its recommendations, specifically the proposal to reduce the top corporate tax rate for businesses investing in R&D?
So the report was commissioned from an independent panel. There were four of us that were actually part of the panel. And we actually did an extensive study of the entire R&D system in Australia. Everything from what is happening in our research areas all the way through to the incentives for private companies to actually invest more in R&D and to commercialise that R&D through an innovation lens. And so there's an extensive set of recommendations in the report. It's up to government whether they adopt those in whole or in part. But our view is when you're looking at the entirety of the system, it makes sense to look at a series of recommendations across the entire system of R&D in the country.
And so even as the government faces challenging economic conditions, should it adopt this ambitious corporate tax reform?
So from my perspective, any period of time, it's important to look at the whole system, and even more so in challenging times, because this is about the next 40 years of economic growth for the country and catalysing that today. Both in terms of what the government focuses its spending on. It isn't about more money being poured into the system, it's about spending it with purpose and impact to actually get the biggest bang for every dollar. In the report we talk about a flywheel, that the economic output of R&D and innovation in the country is for every dollar that's spent, there's more than $7 that's actually returned. And in my experience, it's actually higher. But the economic analysis talks about 1 to 7 in terms of economic impact. So it's really about what is the prosperity for the country in the next 40 years and where does that growth come from? You can't get employment without growth. You can't get real wage growth without growth. So our view is the economic prosperity of the country is really about what we do today and the rest of this decade.
Is this a report in favour of providing more tax offsets for multinational corporations?
It's about incenting the private sector to do their fair share of R&D and innovation and commercialising that R&D here in Australia. Too often what happens is we actually invent things or discover new ways of doing things and then they're commercialised offshore. Why not bring that back to Australia so that we're actually innovating here in Australia, creating jobs for our kids and our grandkids and creating industries that drive economic growth for the country over the next 40 years.
But are we also talking about multinational corporations whose large revenue streams are generated overseas, getting Australian taxpayer dollars for projects down under?
So our view is, in terms of the private sector, doing R&D in the country actually fuels economic growth in the country. And so again, the research shows that. So it's about the ecosystem of R&D, and we want Australian companies, but we're obviously also welcoming other companies to do their R&D and innovate in the country, but also commercialise those innovations in Australia. We talk about incentives for advanced manufacturing. This is the time to do that as the world is changing from a technology perspective about how productive and how advanced manufacturing can actually be profitable here in Australia and create more jobs in Australia.
Should any of these foreign companies provided with Australian support then be obliged to pay a greater level of tax in Australia? We know some of them, particularly in tech, where a lot of R&D is happening, don't pay much tax in Australia despite generating huge revenue streams. Can that situation be allowed to continue?
What we really are driving for in the report is actually creating industries in Australia and creating R&D that's commercialised in Australia, but also exported globally. And so our view is that that will create a positive flywheel effect, a virtuous cycle, if you like, in terms of economic growth for the country. And so we also talk about to be eligible for the R&D tax credit, to be a good corporate citizen and have a checklist type of approach so that any company that's applying for R&D incentives actually needs to comply with that checklist. And so that's one of our recommendations as part of the report.
What does being a good corporate citizen look like?
There's a whole raft of things that we've talked about, from hiring graduates and PhD students all the way through to potentially manufacturing in Australia as well. So there's a raft of different areas that we talk about in terms of being eligible for R&D tax incentives.
Will small and medium enterprises be less enthusiastic about the recommendations? Is there a bias towards bigger businesses and their ability to scale?
There's no bias in terms of large or small. All we're talking about is ambitious companies that really want to grow and grow the potential of the economy here in Australia, but also export to the world. And so our view is it doesn't matter how small. We're very much in favour of startups and scale-ups as well as large corporates as well. Everybody needs to lock arms and be really working with the government, but also working with each other to grow the R&D and the innovation culture in the country.
So there is still opportunity for big and brilliant minds trying to succeed on perhaps little more than a maxed out credit card?
Yes, I mean, to me, actually, it's great to see stories of companies bootstrapping their way through, but by the same token, they should be, if they have ambition, they should also receive incentives to be able to do that and take advantage of those as well. And there are recommendations about how to unlock this fabulous asset that we have as a country in our superannuation and our funding areas, but also in terms of incenting the venture capital firms as well as angel investors, which are the lifeblood today of starting new companies.
On asking financial regulators to relax measures currently discouraging super funds from allocating capital to joint venture funds, are they likely to view that as escalating risk for members?
As part of this extensive study that we've done over 12 months, we actually consulted with nearly 800 different groups across the country. The financial services sector were very much a focal area for us, including superannuation and other venture capital and other funding areas. And obviously, we want people to be prudent with our retirement savings as a country, but there's also opportunity for members to elect where their super funds are invested. That's one of the recommendations, to actually enable members to elect whether or not their hard-earned superannuation dollars are actually invested in Australian companies and Australian technology companies and R&D companies. So that is one of the recommendations. But again, we're not asking people to be reckless. We're not recommending that the prudential requirements that have for so long enabled this fantastic pool of capital for our retirees to be safeguarded.
Is it time for government to invest more in the research capability of our universities?
I think our university sector is world class, and one of the recommendations we talk about is funding fully foundational research. That is a really important ingredient that we do have. We punch above our weight globally in terms of research capabilities in both the university sector but also in the private institutional areas in research. What we now need to do is take that amazing asset that we have and help industries to commercialise and form companies and new startup companies to actually take that research and produce products and services for Australians but also globally. And that's how you re-industrialise the country.
Has the Commission found that successive governments have been underspending in this area?
In the report we talk about we've halved the rate of R&D across both the private and the public sector. And so, but it isn't about spending more today. What it's about is spending wisely and with impact to take the 150 plus programs and actually focus them on 6 pillars of industry. And actually about 18 strategic initiatives across those. Creating this national Innovation Council is a core recommendation of our report, and it will bring focus in areas that we have core capability and aligning both state governments but also the university sector to those pillars in order to get a bigger bang for every dollar that we're spending in R&D. And that to me is a key part. And sure, once the flywheel is going, you can always add more dollars and you'll be incented to add more dollars because you're getting that return. But pouring more dollars into the current system we think is foolhardy because it's like pouring more water into a leaky bucket. You're not going to do that. So our view is fix the current system, incent the private sector, and actually then let the flywheel start in terms of that economic prosperity for future generations.
The federal government has been criticised for being slow to act on a slew of other reports. What is the risk of leaving this one on the shelf?
To me, it is about our future economic growth. There have been many reports into R&D in different segments of it. This is the one comprehensive report that we believe the government is excited about that can actually pave the way for the next wave of innovation and the next wave of growth for the country.
Robyn Denholm, good to speak to you.
Thank you very much.